Let's have somebody else talk. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Doing very well, thank you.
So I have a very serious question. Yeah.
All right, let's start off with a bang. Woo!
Kinda. You travel a lot and you fly a lot. And I'm a person who is very much afraid of flying, and I had always a terrible experience with this. So maybe you can tell how you prepare yourself for every flight in the airplane, or maybe you can give me some advice so I can mentally prepare myself every time.
What is it about flying that scares you?
Getting up and landing, it's like freaks me out. Like,
Okay. What about the turbulence? The shaking?
terrifies a little, but
A little?
not that much.
All right. Let me attack all three of those real quick. Turbulence, as this was explained to me by a professional pilot, air is much like water. So imagine instead of an airplane, you're on a boat, and another boat goes by you. What does that do? That creates waves. Your boat then goes over those waves. It's the same thing in the air. That's all it is. It's just waves in the air. It's not, oh my gosh, we're gonna crash because the plane can't handle it. No, you're just going over some air bumps. That's all it is. The landing and the taking off and the landing, those are tricky, and those are when you want really, really good pilots. Problem is, you don't know if they're really good pilots or not. And yeah, you generally find out in the end if they're good pilots or not. I've been on a lot of scary flights. I fly on an average 2 times a week. I'm in an airplane. And I've had very scary landings. I've had landings where we're actually turned sideways as we come in, and then at the last second. I've had maybe a dozen bails on landings, like where we're coming in and turning and turning and turning, and the pilot's like, nope. I've even had a landing that was so bad that they bailed out of it and changed airports. And we were a few hundred feet off the ground when the pilot called it. And I thanked him profusely. I will say that aircraft pilots I know in America, and I assume that because FAA regulations, are they worldwide? I don't know if they're worldwide. That's federal, so federal aviation. I know that there are regulations worldwide for every airline. The pilots, not only the pilots, but the aircrafts have to meet strenuous tests and they constantly have to continue to learn and get updated. So you're safer being on an airplane than you are being in your car. If that makes you feel better.
Thank you.
How do I reel it back in? No, it's fine. Hi.
Right, and I was going to ask you about the episode The Most Holy Man, the one with the mob setting, and I thought it was a great episode and it looked like fun. I just wondered what you enjoyed the most.
You're going to have to remind me.
It's the one that Bob Singer wrote, I think, and you had to go and get the blood of the Most Holy Man, and you went to get St. Peter's skull.
Yes.
The double cross and all that.
Yeah, what did I most enjoy about that one? The gunfight.
Oh yeah.
And that's just because we often go and we do the reconnaissance, and we talk to the, so-and-so who gives us this information, and then we go and we talk to this person who gives us this information, and then we put the clues together, and then we go and fight the bad guy, and we solve the case, and we win, and we save the people, and that's how we do it. But it's rare when there's so many different bad guys involved that we don't quite know who to trust or who who is the bad guy, and I like that it was kind of like an old mobster movie. I also liked coming in slow motion with 2 guns and just like emptying the chamber. So I don't know, the action part of that particular episode I liked, and I also liked that it kind of had a slightly different feel to it. You know, there was it was a little bit more old-timey storytelling.
Ken Crosby.
And yeah, that's what I enjoyed about it. I will say that there's a scene in that particular episode where Dean pulls Sam aside after we're talking with the priest, and we discuss whether or not to trust this priest, and Sam brings up the Impala. The rest of that scene was not scripted. And it didn't happen until, like, I heard it in my head in rehearsal, because Sam's like, what if somebody stole the Impala? And then we finished it, and then I think my response is like, okay, yeah, okay. And then he's like, you know, wouldn't you want to do anything you could to get it back? Wouldn't you give away everything? And he's like, yeah, right, okay, all right, fine. Let's go talk to the guy. That's how I think the scene was. I think it was written, something like that. And then in rehearsal, when he said, what if somebody stole the Impala? He was like, that's not how Dean would react. He wouldn't ever stop thinking about the fact that he just said somebody stole the Impala. And that scene went on a lot longer than what aired. We continued to go for a while. Like I got pretty mad. And there were torture devices that I was talking about at some point. And anyway, yeah, the I would kill him, I would kill everyone, or something like that. There was a few different takes, and but anyway, that was one of my favorite parts about that episode. Was just the way it set the characters up to really be rich. Yeah.
So first of all, I want to tell you that you are my win. And then I want to ask you, have you ever felt like him? And if you did, what was your win, if you want to share it with us?
Sure. I mean, I think anybody who's lived, you know, a decent life has had struggles and had loss and had tough times and felt down and out and needed some inspiration. And I've certainly been there. I've certainly had my fair share of trials and tribulations. I've lost a few people in my life, very close friends. One in particular was a roommate, died in a horrible car accident when I was younger, in my 20s, early 20s. And I was with him on the trip, and I was following him. He was driving his car, and I was driving my car. It was pretty bad. And I remember coming back home after that. The whole ordeal kind of started to iron itself out, and we were on a road trip. And I got home and was like walking into his room, and there were 3 of us living in his house. This was in California, and I just remember I remember needing some sort of like resolve and some sort of inspiration to be able to cope with this situation. And it came from my roommate, from his father, who showed up to collect his things. And he gave me some incredible motivation, and I found it within him. The fact that he was able to take the loss of his son and turn it into inspiration for somebody else, I thought was like one of the most magnificent things ever, and I used that for many, many years. Yeah, so inspiration comes in many forms. You know, the will to survive, the will to thrive, the will to keep going. It comes in many forms. You just have to be available to accept it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I gave up the idea and the concept of who Dean is a long time ago. He's a part of me now. And he's a living, breathing character, and he is, to steal a quote from Sylvester Stallone, the best imaginary friend I've ever had. And so sure, there are ideas of how I think he would react in a situation, or how I think he would process certain information, but it's living and breathing, and it changes. And it changes with the characters and the energy that those people give him and challenge him with. You know, when characters like Charlie come along, that changes Dean. Because, in a way, it was a reaction that I had with Felicia. Like, she was just, I responded to her. She was just a wonderful person and a brilliant actress, and somebody that I truly enjoyed working with, and that was reflected in how Dean responded, and it you know, it all kind of was it worked, but it wasn't a preconceived notion. It was like, well, this is how Dean would react in any situation. Like, no, it depends on the situation, and then it depends on how I feel that part of me would react. That is Dean. So he's ever evolving, and I think I'm very truly thankful that I've had 13 years to evolve with him and watch him evolve. It's been truly one of the biggest gifts in my life.
No, I kind of opt to not know as long as possible. And I would say the only other person that has that kind of information available to him is Jared. Jared wants to know. He wants to know as much, as soon as a script comes out, as soon as the writer's draft comes out, he's reading that writer's draft. The problem is that the writer's draft then goes through a complete revision, and then becomes the studio draft, which is what they send, the writer's draft they send to the studio. The studio then makes their notes, those notes get changed, then they let it out as the studio draft. Then the studio then sends it to the network makes their notes, then they send it out as a network draft, then they send it to production makes their notes, then it comes back and then they make a production. I mean, it's like so many different variations of what the script is, and I'm like, why would I read something in the writer's draft, get really excited about it, just to have it be gone by the time we get to picture? So, but for some reason Jared just wants to know all the different variations, and he's a nerd like that, and that's why we love him. I on the other hand, I just don't want to waste my time. Plus, it kind of messes me up chronologically in my head. If I start thinking about what I'm doing in this particular episode, and I've read ahead, things that I've read ahead start to play into the choices that I make for Dean in this episode when they shouldn't, because that hasn't happened yet. So I tend to keep it a little bit more chronological, and I will wait to read the script that I'm shooting a night or 2 nights before I start shooting it. And I feel like I have created a system that works for me, in that I can read it. The difference is when I read a script, I read each scene about 2 or 3 times before I move on to the next scene. Jared reads the entire script like a book. And then he'll go back and read the whole script again from front of. But what I'm doing is sometimes I'm even reading the lines 2 or 3 different ways, and I'm like, okay, if I said it this way, okay, if I said, oh, what if I did, okay, if I said it that way, yeah, now we move on. So I'm making the choices literally as I'm reading it for the first time, and that's, I don't know if that's a recommended way to do things, but it's worked for me, and I'm okay with it. So anyway, to get to your point, I don't read ahead. So I'm on as much of a roller coaster as you guys are. And then, to be honest, the last edit of the script is in post-production after we've moved on and are shooting a different script. And so when I see that final episode on television, sometimes I'm surprised. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. They didn't use that line, they didn't use this scene, they didn't use that reaction, which kind of changes certain things, but I see what they're going for. I see the rewrite that they made in post-production. Good to know we can apply that to the future episodes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very well dressed, so it fits you.
I'm always interested to see when shows time travel, and Dean gets to travel a lot through time. So my 2 favorite episodes are Time After Time and The Festival, because, I mean, you look mighty fine in that suit. And a few weeks ago you posted on Instagram a little hint that what might happen in season 14, which I hope will happen. So my question is, what time period would you like Dean to travel to that he hasn't been in yet?
Well, to be honest, I don't know if it's, well, it's not
costume-wise.
Yeah, costume-wise. Well, costume-wise, so, I mean, I don't think I don't think it'll be any secret, but at the end of this season and the next episode that you guys will see, when I take on a new character, that character has a look, and that look was crafted by our amazing costume designer. And Carrie called me and said, "What are you thinking for this?" And I'm like, "What am I thinking? What are you thinking?" And she's like, "I just didn't know." She's like, "Well, I'm just giving the opportunity for a little input." And I'm like, "Oh, I got some input for you." And I sent her a couple of pictures, and she was like, "I love it." And so, so we went with a kind of a 1920s look. I do too. I think it was some cool fashion back then.
I think you will look amazing in white.
And it's fun. I mean, you know, look, I love my job because I get to be different people. I get to play different characters. Even playing the same character, I get to play different characters. I mean, Dean gets to be an FBI agent. He gets to be a hunter. He gets to be all these different kind of varieties of people, and that's one of the great things, because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I wanted to be a lot of different things, and I found a profession that helped me be that. So.
Something that I've really loved seeing play out on the show since the first episode until now is how all the layers of Dean's bravado have kind of been stripped away, and he's been becoming sort of more himself and more expressive. So I was just wondering if character growth like that is something you're conscious of as an actor and director, or if that's more a subconscious thing. I think you kind of touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, I did. I think I'd like to say it was something that I'd planned out, but I think it truly is more of a self-conscious thing. Again, I'm kind of on this ride and this roller coaster with the rest of you, as far as where the storyline goes, where these characters go, the way that those layers get peeled off, and it is something that has kept me interested for many, many years, and it's something that continues to keep me interested and continues to get me excited and to inspire me to find new nuances. If you'd have told me a year ago that I would have a scene with Catch where we bonded to go off and fight together, I would have been like, that's not going to happen. Like that's just not in. That's not in the. Dean doesn't have that available to him.
Yeah.
But we found it. And so I love that, and I think that's very humanistic of who we all are, is that sometimes we're capable of things we don't think we're capable of.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. So I want to ask that some of the choices the writers make about Dean, other some choices they have made that you don't agree as Jensen, but it's good for the character of Dean.
Yeah. Like that scene I was talking about a minute ago, where we were talking about, you know, when Sam says, what if somebody stole the Impala? And that would, Dean wouldn't be able to see anything else but red as soon as somebody said that. So that's all he would fixate on it. I'd be like, I don't know what I would do. I mean, I would freak out. I would kill people. I would murder. There would be torture. There would be, like, people would cry for their mommies, and it wouldn't be pretty, and all things and everything would suffer, and it would be catastrophe. But the writers were like, yeah, he would just, you know, all right, I get it, yeah, and move on. So there are little moments like that I think where I do maybe understand Dean a little bit more. However, conceptualizing the things that Dean does, that is not my job, nor do I want that job, and I am very thankful for the writers that we have that do have that job, because they come up with amazing concepts and amazing words and amazing lines and amazing interactions and relationships. And all I try to do is massage those into a way that keep it true to the character and the story. And that is a brilliant relationship that we've had for many, many years, and I'm very thankful for it, and I hope they are too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Jensen.
Well, hello there. It is warm up here. I'm sorry. I'm like sweating. I'm gonna get a little, what do you call this? It's water, people. Funny story. My youngest daughter, Era, she's already singing her ABCs, which doesn't make sense to me because she's, what, a year and a half? Not even. No, she is. Yeah, she's 18 months. And I don't know if that's normal. Because Zeppelin can't even say dada yet. Yeah, all right. Thank you. I know girls are smarter. At first. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, she's also to the help of the wonderful woman that we have help us and help Neil out when I'm not around. Our Arrow is speaking 2 languages now. Espanol. There, we have some folks in here from Barcelona, correct? Arrow is saying gracias. I'm like, okay. Can you say thank you? Nope. That's good. But at the same time, like, Zeppelin is just, he's almost running now on his feet. Arrow doesn't like to walk. So he is rapidly advanced physically, and she is rapidly advanced mentally. And I think it's just so telling. I mean, it's like, it's amazing. It's literally a phenomenon to watch. They're the exact same age, from the exact same stomach, and they're so wildly different. And I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it continues to work itself out. So.